Hello, everybody. Aiden here, and welcome into today's episode of Around the Slice. I wanted to just jump on quick this afternoon to give you all my thoughts on the breaking news that the Buffalo Bills have finally found their new head coach after an extensive search over the last week or so. And that is, they have promoted Offensive Coordinator Joe Brady to permanent head coach. What do I think of this? Well, let's just say I dislike it very much. I'm going to break down the positives and negatives. Let's start off with those couple of positives before I unload my full thoughts here, because unfortunately I have a lot of issues and problems with this hire. But a couple positives. Joe Brady obviously knows Josh Allen. They have a very tight relationship. Tara Pagula is familiar, as the owner is familiar with Joe Brady on a daily basis, and he's been around the Buffalo community. He's been on this team and staff in a couple of different roles for 4 full years now. In 2022 and the first half of 2023, he was Bills QB coach. In the second half of 2023, he was interim offensive coordinator, and fully in 2024 and 2025, he was Bills official offensive coordinator. So that's number one. He already has an established relationship with the team, and most importantly, Josh Allen. Positive number two for me here is the offensive identity, the offensive-minded head coach. I said from day one, the second McDermott was fired, if you're going to fire a very successful 9-year defensive-minded head coach, then you need to flip over to the other side of the ball and hire an offensive-minded head coach. Because if you brought in a defensive-minded head coach, you might as well have just kept Sean McDermott. If per Terry Pagula, they kept running into the same couldn't get over the same proverbial wall, if you will, he said, in the playoffs. Okay, sure. For one reason or another, I guess he said that. I don't know. But if you hired another defensive-minded coach, you just might as well have kept McDermott. So I like that they flipped over to the other side of the ball, and I like that they went with an offensive-minded head coach to lead this franchise going forward. But unfortunately, that's a couple positives, and that's where it ends there. My negatives, I unfortunately have a few too many for my liking. Number one, the Josh Allen effect. If this hire, now Josh Allen was in the meetings, whether it was in Buffalo for in-person meetings, whether it was in Boca in Florida that Terry Pagula owns a home in apparently. Anywhere, Josh Allen was firmly, physically in those meetings. Now, I know Josh Allen is the franchise. He's not just the franchise quarterback. He's literally the franchise. He embodies what it means to be a Buffalo Bill day in and day out, through and through. Josh Allen, the franchise. That's number one. But, so of course he's going to be in on the whole thing, physically or not. But, what I go back to, if this decision was made solely based off of what Josh Allen thinks is the franchise QB, is the franchise once again, we've got a problem. Because it's good to get some input from your franchise QB, but it shouldn't be the input, the deciding factor. Josh Allen's not the only one on the team. I love him to death, but he's a player. Players don't decide head coaches. I don't know if you were aware, but that's not how shit goes. If they made this solely based on what Josh Allen's feelings, we got a problem. Because what has happened when Josh Allen's feelings have gotten in the way, and he's gotten what he's wanted in the past? Not very good. Josh Allen wanted Ken Dorsey a few years ago for offensive coordinator, turned into a dumpster fire. Josh Allen wanted Keon Coleman at the very top of the second round a couple of drafts ago in the draft, a couple years ago, turned into a dumpster fire. And by all accounts, Josh Allen loves Joe Brady, and he wants Joe Brady. I hope it's not a dumpster fire, but when Josh Allen has been the sole reason they do something in the past, it's turned into a mess. I'm sorry, that's just the truthful truth. It just has. Number two, are we really sure that Joe Brady is head coach material? I touched on this in my previous episode, but to me, Joe Brady, in the interviews to see him stuff as offensive coordinator, Joe Brady doesn't have the stuff, if you will, to be an offensive coordinator. I don't think he has the personality traits. I don't want to bash the guy's ego and personality, but I just don't think he does. I think he's way too quiet. I think he's way too reserved. And I worry about the Ken Dorsey effect, where he just wants to butter up Josh Allen all the time and be Josh Allen's buddy. And now as the head coach, you need to get in Josh Allen's face when he has some of those boneheaded turnovers he still has time and time again. You need to get in his face. You can't butter him up all the time. You can't be buddy-buddy. It's great that they all laugh. It's great that they both love The Office. It's great that they can joke about office quotes back and forth. But now you're the head coach. It's a different relationship. It's a different level of respect between you two. You need to face harsh realities sometimes. And from the interviews, Joe Brady seems, not just with Josh Allen, Joe Brady seems too quiet. And I don't think he's a very loud, vocal, and outspoken leader. Like McDermott embodied toughness. McDermott was the Buffalo culture, the Buffalo way, if you will. Joe Brady just seems like too much a reserved guy. I don't know if he's too much of a vocal leader. And that's a concern when you already have Josh Allen. I don't want to ever bash Josh Allen, but who's not very much of a vocal QB himself, is just kind of ho-hum personality, even keeled all the time. And sometimes you need to let shit fly. Sometimes you need to get things going a little. Put fire under some people's asses. That could have been used a lot this past year. Number 3, I wanted Joe Brady gone as offensive coordinator. I want him canned. I want him fired as offensive coordinator, let alone now he's the freaking head coach. He got too cute. We know it, offensive coordinator this past year. He got too cute. How many goddamn times in high leverage, crucial moments did we have to see some stupid pitch behind the line? Some stupid Khalil Shakir screen, totally misusing him in malpractice of his skill set? How many times in a crucial situation did we have to see some dumb trick play jet sweep with idiot players like Mecole Hardman, or when Curtis Samuel, when he was ever healthy, if he was? That's what I worry about. Joe Brady got too cute, and then it goes back to the leadership thing. I think he gets in his head a little bit too often. So it's just kind of ironic and funny to me personally, and this is just me again, my opinions here, that the two people that probably should have been fired, Brandon Beane and Joe Brady, are now leading this franchise going forward. And Brandon Beane even got a promotion. Don't even get me started on that. And Joe Brady now is the head coach. I just don't know about this hire. And since it's great that he's tight with Josh Allen, but like everyone can say, oh, Beane just gets him a receiver or two and then he's good to go. Well, every receiver outside of Khalil Shakir that has played under Joe Brady has been a disaster in free agency. Curtis Samuel didn't know how to use him. Josh Palmer hurt. That's another thing. Deontay Hardy didn't know how to use them. Saves his life. Trent Sherfield, a few plays here and there, but didn't know how to use them. Khalil Shakir, who I love, is a second or third option ideally this past year. Total malpractice with his skill set and what he's shown in the past. I love his gap zone running schemes with James Cook. I love his willingness to mix the run and pass game balance, but maybe he'll be better with wide receivers, but maybe not. I just really don't like this hire from a head coach perspective. I don't know. Unfortunately, I have a few too many negatives. I just don't have a good feeling about this. Like last week's press conference with Brandon Beane and Terry Pegula, it was just 50 minutes of a 50-minute power trip for those two. 55-minute power trip for those two. It couldn't have gone any worse. Whether it's throwing Keon Coleman under the bus, acting like Brandon Beane is the smartest guy in the world and he deserved the promotion 1,000%, or kind of subtly bashing McDermott without actually saying his name now that he's gone. I don't like it. In my mind, this is probably the most uninspiring and lackluster hire you could have ever made. Let's backtrack here a little. You fire Sean McDermott, fine, whatever, that's done and over with. I guess they said pack your bags, see you later. But if you were going to fire a very successful 9-year head coach, deep playoff runs, just couldn't get over the hump year in and year out, you needed to make a significant change. That signaled to me, at least, that change was coming. And you make a final decision of promoting from within. That is so uninspiring. That is such a lackluster decision. You need to get aggressive. You need to get bold. You moved on from someone who was very successful after 9 years. Change was needed. And I feel like, unfortunately, to me, this is just more of the same. I don't know. We can talk about potential staff. For defensive coordinator, everyone's wondering if Bobby Babbitt will be back or not. I'm telling you right now, 99.9% sure there's no way in. hell that Bobby Babich is back. Because after about 5 or 6 games this past year, Sean McDermott already took play calling duties away from Bobby Babich. So what the hell's point keeping Babich around? The guy that took away play calling duties from you is now gone. So theoretically, in a hypothetical world, that means you're gone too. He probably feels slighted by Sean McDermott, but Sean McDermott's gone now, so he's probably gone now too. I don't know who would be a potential good fit in defense coordinator for Joe Brady. I'm not familiar with his past contacts and past connections and ties right now. I'd have to look into that for sure in the defense side of the ball, but I know for sure no way in hell Bobby Babich is back. For offensive coordinator, it's down to 2 options, and I'll be very sad, depressed, and annoyed if it's not one of these 2 options. Number 1, Davis Webb, current Broncos QB coach and pass game coordinator. He's credited with a lot of Bo Nix's development and getting a lot of that out of that team. And other than Cortland Sutton, they don't really have much any wide receiver talent at all. But the fear is he becomes the Raiders head coach. He said 2 legit, very good in-person interviews with the Raiders in Las Vegas. And I'm sure he'd want to be the Raiders head coach, number 1, because he could be a head coach at just 31 years old. And most importantly, he could draft and develop and groom Fernando Mendoza, QB out of Indiana, as his own for years to come. And 2, a ton of cap space to work with. They have around 70 million cap space. That's like top 10 in the league. He can absolutely do some damage. So my fear is he chooses the Raiders head coach, but that would be my number 1 option. I doubt Joe Brady's going to give up play calling duties now. It's going from offensive coordinator, promote from within head coach. I doubt he's going to give up play calling duties, so Davis Webb could be a good voice, technically have OC and title and work with Joe Brady. Number 2, Nate Scheelhaus, current Rams passing game coordinator. I just want this guy solely for the fact that he's had a bit more experience than you might think, but also mainly he comes from the McVay tree. I feel like in 4 or 5 years, we'll look up and literally every single freaking head coach around the league is going to be a Shanahan and McVay disciple. Rightfully so, because damn, they can work some magic with their offenses. But yeah, I don't know. Nate Scheelhaus, 2 in-person interviews with the Browns. Everyone's pulling out of the Browns job and saying no, whether it's Mike McDaniel. It sounds like right now it's between Nate Scheelhaus, Jim Schwartz, the current DC there, and Todd Monken. I think they should hire Nate Scheelhaus, but those are my top 2 options for OC, Davis Webb, and Nate Scheelhaus. And for those of you that are thinking, Brian Daboll this, Brian Daboll that, no, that's over with. He just accepted, before recording this today, he just accepted the OC role under Robert Saleh with the Tennessee Titans. I thought it would always be kind of weird anyway, him coming back to work under his former assistant, Joe Brady. If Joe Brady calls plays, he's not going to want to go there to be a non-play calling OC when he's been the OC and play caller for Alabama and Buffalo, very successful, and a play calling head coach in New York with the Giants. He's been a very successful play caller. Why would he want to go to Buffalo and give up his play calling duties to someone like Joe Brady? For other staff changes, so my ideal staff now to support Joe Brady would be Davis Webb as offensive coordinator if he chooses the Raiders job. Nate Scheelhaus, absolutely, just for the fact that he's a McVay disciple. And then defensive coordinator, again, I have no idea. For other staff changes, you're going to have to, Aaron Kromer retired. He's one of the most well-rounded and most well-respected offensive line coaches of the past freaking decade. He retired, unfortunately, so you're going to have to get a new line coach. I'm thinking they love promoting from within, apparently, so they're probably going to promote assistant line coach Austin Gunn to full-time line coach and then get a new assistant there. Joe Brady is probably going to keep Ronald Curry on as Josh Allen's QB coach for the QB room, just because they have an extensive history together with the New Orleans Saints. But yeah, man, this is promoting Joe Brady from OC to head coach, very uninspiring and lackluster hire to me. It's just more of the same, and that's unfortunate. I'm very worried about the Bills going forward now as a franchise. Of course, they have Josh Allen. Of course, we think Brandon Beane better get some actual talent on that side of the ball. and phase some old guys out on defense, but I'm very worried. I think the days of division titles in 12 or 13 win seasons are unfortunately behind us. I think you're looking at 9 or 10 win seasons. I really, really do. I'm very skeptical of this hire. I'm going to give this hire, I'm going to provide some context here. I'm going to give this hire a C. I think it's a below average hire. I think it's very uninspiring. I just don't know how this team revolutions around like Joe Brady. And we've seen in the past, Josh Allen can't be the end all be all when it comes to decisions. So unfortunately, I'm going to give Joe Brady a C for being hired as new head coach. And yeah, this whole operation is just off right now. I feel like there's, for the first time in literally years, the vibes in Buffalo right now are pretty atrocious and all out of whack. So I don't know. I'm very concerned with Terry Pegula's ownership, Brandon Beane getting a promotion, now Joe Brady. I'll give it a C. Anyways, guys, let me know down in the comments below. What do you think about Joe Brady? Who would your dream OC be? Who would your dream DC be? Again, I got to look in more further. What are some other staff changes you want to see? And yeah, you can follow me on Twitter /X at @AWagner13 for more Bills takes, more NFL takes, or just other fun conversations in general at @AWagner13 on Twitter /X. You can, of course, watch or listen to this podcast on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Please like and subscribe. Please share this episode and channel with anyone and everyone you know. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you for the support as always. Whether I like it or not, new era for the Buffalo Bills. Big day in upstate New York and Buffalo as a whole. I will see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.